12 o'clock news coming to you live on Politics and Business Television. Thank you for joining us at this time. The top stories. Federal government warns states as River Niger water level rises. Landowners sue federal government over 15 trillion naira Lagos to Calabar highway. Dangote refinery begins production test run. Details coming up shortly. Welcome back. I am Idris Amina. Now let's begin with the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency that has warned the public regarding the rising water levels of the River Niger as of August 22nd, 2024. This alert comes in response to a report from the Niger Basin Authority in Niamey, Niger Republic, indicating that upstream activities in Niger and Mali have contributed to the situation. A statement on Friday signed by the Director General of NIHXA, Umar Mohammed, noted flood waters from these two countries are expected to move gradually into Nigeria through Kebbi State. The statement further noted that dam operators at Kainji and Jaba on the River Niger have been informed and are fully prepared to manage the situation. Mohammed emphasized that it is important to note that as at August 22nd, 2024, the dams are not spilling water from their reservoirs. NIHSA has advised states and communities along the River Niger system to be on high alert as the flood waters are anticipated to peak towards the end of August and into September. The agency assured all that it would continue to monitor the flood situation in the country and provide periodic updates to the general public accordingly. Now, the federal government has insisted that it would continue construction of the 700-kilometer Lagos to Calabar coastal highway despite ongoing court cases filed by aggrieved persons against the project. The Minister of Works, David Umahi, stated this at a press briefing on Thursday in Abuja while addressing serious concerns about the project's procurement process that led to court proceedings by landowners. Umahi stated that the 15.36 trillion naira coastal highway, which will be built on concrete pavement, received all necessary legal and procedural requirements before it commenced construction. The coastal highway has been a subject of public scrutiny and controversy since the government commenced construction in March 2024. In May, Umahi disclosed that 750 houses on the path of the highway had been marked for demolition. However, owners of affected property were displaced with the government's compensation, claiming it did not match their investment. According to them, the compensation is grossly inadequate and there is the need for the government to review the payment. The founder of Ledger Games, Olarinwaju Ojo, who got 1.3 million naira compensation, revealed that the amount was what he could generate in a week. Stakeholders and experts also condemned the road procurement process, stressing that the contract awarded to the construction company was shrouded in secrecy and bypassed the proper procurement process. On oil matters today, oil marketers are awaiting the price of premium motor spirits, popularly called petrol, being produced by the Dangote Petroleum Refinery as the plant begins a production test run of PMS before it is released in September. A report by Reuters stated that the Dangote Petroleum Refinery is undergoing test runs for petrol production, with full operation expected to commence by mid-September. Citing a note by IIR Energy and Industry Monitor, the publication said the dates could be extended further. According to the reports, IIR said in a note to clients that it is possible that there could be further extensions. IRR Energy provides real-time supply-side global market intelligence for the commodity trading community. The spokesperson of Dangote Refinery, Anthony, had yet to respond to inquiries when contacted on Thursday to speak on the matter. Meanwhile, members of the Major Energies Marketers Association of Nigeria and their counterparts in the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria said they were awaiting the price of the product from the $200 billion plant. You're watching news analysis live on Politics and Business TV. Still to come, Muslim women to the president tackle poverty and rising insecurity. Details of this after the break. Welcome back. The Federation of Muslim Women's Association in Nigeria yesterday fingered poor implementation of policies in the education sector, high rate of poverty and lack of empowerment as significant contributors to the insecurity challenges in the country. National Amira of the association, Hajia Rafia Sani, said this ahead of its 39th annual national conference in Ondo State with the theme Women and the Challenges of Insecurity. Sani, who lamented the extent of the damage that insecurity has done to the country, said that if these contributing factors are addressed with lasting solutions, the country will be better for it. She, however, urged the federal government to change its security tactics in tackling the menace. Also contributing, the former National Amira and the chairperson of the National Organizing Committee for the conference, Professor Latifa Durosimi, tasked the federal government to redouble its efforts in tackling poverty in the country. And now Nigeria will be proudly represented by two talented individuals, Ms. Honora Ndidiamaka Ruby and Mr. Effiong Benjamin Bassi Benny, at the highly anticipated Miss and Mr. Celebrity International 2024. The event is scheduled to take place on September 28, 2024 at the Kim Center in Dong Nai, Vietnam. Ruby, a seasoned international model, beauty queen, and lifestyle influencer, will be raising the nation's flag on the international stage for the second time. Benny, an actor, model, and social media sensation with over 1.7 million followers on TikTok, will be making his debut appearance in Vietnam. The prestigious event, founded by Leonard Tan Xiang Guang, aims to promote the tagline Zero Hate and Zero Waste through global representation and participation in the Asia-Vietnam Fashion Week. Sponsored by Celebrity Pageant Group and Crystal Star Entertainment, the event seeks to showcase each representative on a global scale, promoting unity, diversity, and inclusivity. With the theme Zero Hate and Zero Waste, the event aims to inspire a movement towards a more sustainable and compassionate world. Nigeria's participation is a testament to the country's talent and dedication to making a positive impact globally. From Politics and Business Television, we wish Ruby and Benny the best of luck as they represent Nigeria on the international stage. Still, you're watching news analysis live on Politics and Business Television. Federal government asks Department of State Services to investigate same-sex. Federal government asks the Department of State Services to investigate same-sex marriage debate. A letter from a certain organization seeks permission to hold a debate on the topic. Same-sex marriage should be legalized in Nigeria. What an interesting time to be Nigerian. Join us after the break to discuss our today's topic, implications of same-sex marriage debates in schools. See you shortly. Now, the Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Education, Dr. Nasir Sani Gazo, has asked the Department of State Services to investigate the origin and intentions behind the letter from Creative Africa Initiative to hold a national debate with the topic same-sex marriage should be legalized in Nigeria. This was contained in a letter dated 9th August 2024 and directed to the Director General of DSS. The letter for the debate was said to have been sent out to commissioners of education in the state, alleging it was from the Federal Ministry of Education, a claim the ministry denied, saying it is fraudulent and didn't emanate from them. Kwazo, in the letter to the DSS, said the sensitive nature of the topic is not only against the cultural and religious values of the majority of Nigerians, but also contravenes existing Nigerian laws. The initiative is capable of causing widespread confusion and potentially inciting unrest within the country. The introduction of such a topic into public discourse, especially through a formal debate, may have far-reaching consequences that could disrupt public peace and social cohesion. He explained that the debate could be interpreted as a deliberate attempt to undermine the laws of Nigeria and destabilize societal norms, thereby causing unnecessary tension and division among the populace. He requests that the Department of State Services investigate the origin and intentions behind this letter from Creative Africa Initiative. The Permanent Secretary urged the department to treat the matter with the seriousness it deserves and take the necessary steps to safeguard the peace and stability of the country. Joining us to analyze this topic is Professor Khalifa Ali Dikwa, an international scholar of politics and social linguistics and languages, Dean of Scholars and Intellectuals of Dikwa Emirates, Dean of Concerned Elders and Citizens, Chairman of Trustee of many associations, Ambassador of Peace and Ambassador of and Arewa Ambassador. Thank you very much for joining us, Professor Khalifa.
You are welcome. You are welcome. Good afternoon.
Many thanks for joining us on the program today.
Yes, good afternoon, viewers and listeners.
I will begin by asking, what do you make of this purported letter to schools to hold same-sex marriage debates?
First of all, Nigeria is not a lawless country. And there's no way something that is legally banned that should be allowed to come through the window. So the DSS is in the right position to investigate it first. And secondly, it looks like the imposition looks like something with which in the past, in 2009 or so, that was how insurgency Boko Haram was imposed on Nigeria in the name of religion. And again, they are coming again in the name of religion. And Africans have their own culture. And I cannot remember any time have read this issue in all the African countries that I visited and so on. It is not part of our traditional values in Africa. And therefore, it is up to those who wanted to bring it through the window to explain the rationale behind bringing it. After all, we have not exhausted all the other items that Nigeria and African countries need to take care of, in particularly in terms of electricity and roads and so on, all infrastructure for jobs, so that our children, African children and youth, will not travel to Europe and get drowned in the sea. Yes.
At a time like this, where the country is even it's struggling, what is the need for this topic, this same-sex marriage?
It is just the devil's advocacy. Devil's advocacy in the sense that they have been training Nigeria as a country since independence, how to create trouble for Nigeria. And they believe that Nigeria, if left alone to develop its basic infrastructure, Nigeria by now will have been a developed country. So for them to keep African countries where they are today, it is better to start with the leader of the continent, which is Nigeria. They have not been able to do it. All the conspiracies against Nigeria have failed since independence, many of them. And Nigeria is the only country around that does not have a European military base. And they are itching to have one so that they could come spy on everyone. And then when they bring their own base, the way now some African countries, notably Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, drove the French base outside because they do a lot. They don't even help in fighting in terrorism that the Western intelligence actually created for Africans in order to easily lay hands on the resources. While people are killing each other, they steal the resources, they pillage the resources. And therefore, it is not a priority. Some gays, and secondly, gay rights and so on. Why not in those countries who insist that Africans must have an idea that it is one of the ways to block the population to not grow. Actually, Africa is underpopulated. It is not about the population that matters. China, for instance, is 1.5 billion. The same thing with India, but they are very much advanced than Nigeria, and they have only a gap of 13 years or so between them and Nigeria.
So
same applies to. So why not allow the presidents of those so-called developed countries? What can they marry? For instance, the president of America should marry the prime minister of England, and let us see whether the couple will do well and have children.
So we could say this is a plight by the colonizers to still tie us down.
Exactly, because they don't want anything peace in Nigeria, because they have been doing it against Nigeria, and only a few of us who have not been intimidated, because many at times they came to either give us something, a lot of honorarium to chair an impossible item that has no place for in our traditional values, to be paid very well and to do the abnormal.
All right, moving on.
So they want African countries and Nigeria to play the abnormal, sometimes mostly to annoy the majority of the population, to annoy them, in addition to the hunger and poverty that they are going through. It is all crafted from outside the country. Yes.
Moving on, even though the Ministry of Education denounced it and asked DSS to investigate it, isn't there more to it than meets the eye?
It is not. It is not. The denial is by the side. It is something that, how did it come in? It is an official letter, maybe from an embassy or something like that. How could the Ministry of Education not have known the career of the letter, or the person who sent the mail to the Ministry of Education? So when you don't know the real sender, you don't even adopt it as an official letter received and so on. You don't take chunks. You don't take it from anybody. So as long as it got into the mail, it means they know from where that particular letter came from, and they just did not want to hurt the feelings of Nigerians who are already desperate in their day-to-day life. Yes.
So how do you think our children and the schools can be protected from this ongoing campaign of same-sex marriage, considering the fact that children even follow whatever they see on the internet these days?
Exactly.
And they are very curious to try out anything new.
Yes, I mean, most of the time, it is all these devil's advocacies and so on were brought in through democracy. So if, for instance, now you have civilians who are professionals and so on, as a government, they wouldn't have even allowed this to happen, because it is part of the moral corruption. they envy Nigeria in particular, even in Africa, they envy Nigeria to have the brains and the resources who are now wherever you go in the West America and so on, you meet Nigerians, great brains everywhere. But if they fear that if Nigeria fixes its infrastructure and so on, those will come back to Nigeria and they themselves will have to be coming. So it is an economic war to annoy Nigeria, to create mistrust among Nigerians, not to come together by using religion, tribalism, and so on, all the cleavages in order to aggravate mistrust. About our children, it is very difficult at this time unless the Constitution gives back to the role of our traditional institutions, who we have the Ongwa, the world leader, the village head, who used to know everyone else, and who was to shut down any child, anybody could be drilled and corrected by any elder within the society. This is not the case now with mistrust and so on, and reading and viewing things that never happened, even about what you call them, fictions and so on. They concoct them and send them to Africa. And youngsters are supposed to be guided in their use of the internet.
Yes.
And therefore bringing back
I'm coming to that, sir. I'm coming to that. So, same way the Europeans have been able to destroy African on their oneness and togetherness through religion and all this everyday development.
Exactly.
That's the same way they want to keep destroying Nigerians.
Exactly. So Nigeria is their problem. No country in the world, no developed country that can overlook Nigeria in the eyes of the world. Nigeria is a country that cannot be toyed with. So to them, allowing Nigeria to fix its basic infrastructure and to get the brains back and to pay the people very well, it means Nigerians will come back to Nigeria and and help the Nigerians. That was what India and other what we call them Asian tigers did. So anybody in Japan and so on, when they are in America training and so on, by the time they finish their training, they were being delayed with the refusal to give them certificates, PhDs, masters, and so on. All those countries said, if you are trained, you finish your training, come back, forget about the certificate. When they come back, the professor coming with his own knowledge, it was paid more than the minister. And the opposite is in Africa. So the same thing happening with the annoyance that everybody has in terms of subsidy. Europeans subsidize electricity, subsidize education, subsidize fuel. But it is the opposite being imposed on Nigeria. And they always used to blackmail African presidents with whatever they had in secrecy and so on. They blackmail them and intimidate them with International Court of Justice. This is what they do. So they prefer corrupt African leaders because the corruption will pave the way to tell them, to force them to take loan from IMF. And only 40% reaches the country. The remaining, they share it among themselves. And these are, all those loans are given with throat-cutting interest rates that can never be paid back. And those are how they cripple African countries. And when you say African, it means Nigeria at the head.
All right. Well, yes. So now coming back to the internet matters. Now that the internet is free for everybody to access, despite your age and whatever, and even the introduction of artificial intelligence, how vigilant should parents be with internet and artificial intelligence?
Listen, it is not expensive. It is not expensive to invest in our youth. For instance, Nigeria as a country can subsidize the use of internet. The way you subsidize, the same thing return back subsidize the basic needs of our youth and so on. That way, the youth will have a sense of patriotism, sense of belonging. But by the time they grow, they are growing as children, adolescents, and so on. Everything was being paid by their parents. It means they will ask themselves, what has the government of Nigeria done for me to be so patriotic, to be so nationalistic? That is how they take away the sense of patriotism. The civic instructions never worked. All these things were smuggled during democracy, a democracy with a constitution that had no respect for our traditional norms, traditional values that had been there before the arrival of the colonial powers to the shores of Nigeria.
On the parents' parts now, how vigilant should they be with how their children can access the internet?
Their children must be friendly. They should be friendly to their children to sit them down and give them lectures on the advantages and disadvantages of the internet, not by marking them down and taking, because they always, as children, they are always smarter than the parents.
Yes,
It is natural.
Yes.
They are always smarter than the parents. And then among the men and women are always smarter than men, but they are not wise. While men are wise, but they are not smart. That is how God shared the role for them to live in peace. If two smart people cannot cohabit, because a woman is naturally smart. If the husband too is smart, there is a problem. if the man is wawa and the woman is also wawa, there is a problem.
That being said, what punishments or sanctions would you recommend for students who are caught in the act?
No, we appeal to their conscience, because it is not easy to catch them in the first place. It is always by surprise, and that talking to them is more important than harsh punishment. This is not the time again. By the time they finish secondary schools and so on, and then they enter tertiary institutions, they will be able to know the value of knowledge, how to read and get a certificate. Even this one, it is being corrupted. We should stop the moral corruption and the educational corruption first, which is very possible with a government that has no room for moral corruption. So a government that respects the values, the voices of the traditional people from our villages up to this level, rather than swallowing any pill coming from outside, and which is okay for them, but it is not okay in Nigeria. It is not okay, because you cannot swallow something that will not cure your society, and therefore it is high time Nigeria stopped and said, hey, these things have not been working for 25 years of uninterrupted democracy, that we have not been able to do one or two things that the military did during their own thing. All the structures and so on were done during the military by fiat. Anything that has to do with national interest, they did not argue, they did not expect corruption, they did not set bribe and lobby. And today, corruption has different names in a democracy, and they say democracy is the best.
Nigeria should adopt the military rule instead of democracy.
No,
but that should be a topic for another day.
Are not corruptible, are clean, they are decent, are patriotic and nationalistic.
Due to
time for military
is gone. Time factor, we will leave this topic
already,
for
because
another
the military
day.
Themselves, not all of them are fed and trained the way their forefathers used to be.
Due to time factor, we will leave this topic for another day. Thank you very much, Professor Khalifa Ali. Many thanks for joining us on the program today. And that has been Professor Khalifa Ali Dikwa, an international scholar of politics and social Linguistics and Languages, Dean of Scholar and Intellectuals of Jikwa Emirates, Dean of Concerned Elders and Citizens, Chairman of Trustees of many associations, Ambassador of Peace, and Arewa Ambassador of Peace. That will be the size of our program for today. Thank you for joining us. I am Idris Amina. Have a great weekend.